Hi, you guys. It's been a while, I think maybe 2 weeks. I guess today what I want to talk about is something that has nothing to do with self-help or wisdom or maybe a little bit of writing, sure, but I wanted to share something about myself that I don't always talk about. Sims. I have been playing for more than a decade now. I've been a fan since the second fucking grade. I've been playing Sims. Oh my god, not even that. Like I was introduced to Sims when I was like 6 years old from my older cousin who would play, and this was the first generation of Sims, which is like, oh my god, like I love it because I love the soundtrack. I love the soundtrack for most generations of The Sims, but the first one really hits home because it's like it's OG, you know. But yes, I want to talk about that. And more specifically, I want to talk about this particular narrative that I've designed, which is a chronological story. Well, here's the thing. So I started taking notes on my Sims because the generations had passed by and I couldn't keep up with the overlapping stories and such, and I wanted to just keep track of it, you know? So I started taking notes. And then now I have this 37-page amalgamation of a chronological soap opera that is very sci-fi. It's just generations and generations of this world that I've built. Well, I also have a set of rules and laws that go with this world. So I wanted to talk about that with you. Just cause like, yeah, why not? I think if I say be true to yourself, then I should be true to myself, right? So here we go. I would sit down in my office and start playing the game. So it started with the basic pack. Then the wizard or the sorcerer pack was on sale. I downloaded that. And then from there, you know, like the story continued to evolve. And now it's this multifaceted world with several dimensions and realities, which incorporate sorcerers, um, werewolves, vampires, aliens, way later in the story, and mermaids. And it is political, and the UN gets involved, and everything that's kind of going on in the world exists here with with the like extrinsic realities of something that is a little bit more mystical and magical, I guess. There are allies, there's dissonance, there's like civil wars taking place. There is so much and it is so dorky, but whatever. Um yeah, and I created a whole like, you know, set of laws and stuff, and there's ranking. So, you know, to marry the world we live in with this fantastical world, I had to kind of create some sort of bridge that makes sense, you know, as far as the rankings go. So, cause like there, and I also created a whole different like theology behind it because I want it to again like fit in the world we live in. And I know that in later, and not the seasons or whatever, later in the story, like one character is going to divulge themselves, and oh my god, I sound this is so, it's just okay, whatever. um but one character, you know, reveals that they are, you know, equipped with sorcery, and that is a big no-no. That's like against the law, the as far as sorcerers. But yes, so you know, how does the public deal with that, you know, and the UN, and how do they respond to it, because it will have, interestingly enough, an economical toll because it challenges the propaganda of religions now that are most popular. And we know that, you know, plenty of religions profit off public belief and faith. So, you know, to combat that, to interact with that, what sort of blanketed statement do we set here? And I know I'm getting tangential, but just to resolve this matter for the sake of it, I guess the blanketed statement was that it was just all put on technology, advanced technology, and artificial intelligence to kind of divert people's, the general mass's suspicion on this characters' abilities and such. And it does, like, it's not just one character that becomes a parent in the real world. There are multiple sorcerers, and people think they're superheroes, so the whole concept of like superheroes becomes available in the story, and the superheroes versus villains, and like, oh my god, there's so much to talk about. And it generally, like, I don't even know if you can tell, but like the synapses in my brain are firing like crazy, because first of all, this is my fucking brainchild. I have ripped off some like stories and stuff, but it's my fucking story and I'm not doing anything with it yet. And if I were to, I would also kind of rewrite it in a more sophisticated manner and be less so soap opera esque. And of course, I would not copy other stories, or yeah, other franchises. So yeah, with the sorcerers, there are rankings, and there's, ooh, you know what? Let me pause. I'm gonna get my laptop and I'm gonna look at it. I created a Canva presentation for my friends, and it is so sick. I'm not even gonna lie, it's so sick, because I wanted it to kind of look like vintage art, and it kind of resemble biblical art, because I wanted to create, like, the background of it is historical in a sense, and this, like, I've kind of, you know, theologically reiterated something that takes from religions that already exist, but this is like the ultimate truth and ultimate reality of things and how things actually work. It's just people are not ready to, the general mass, the people who are not indoctrinated into these realms need to be kind of busy with different notions of religion, I guess. But so yeah, so then I like really got to work and created something very detailed. I'm gonna go ahead and just read it, and see how far I can get. But sorcery existed as a religion rather than revealed by prophets. There are 4 types of magic. There's alchemy, untamed, mischief, and practical. The general public practice all types of magic. Through evolution and migration, this kind of just caused specialization into lineages. So like the alchemy, untamed, mischief, and practical were kind of divided through travel, through evolution, into different archetypes of sorcery, kind of, or of like different occults. Each practice became a realm identity. Mischief created the Vampiric League, and practical defined the sorcerer realm, and untamed magic forged the werewolf territories, and alchemy represented the merfolk. So yeah, and it's interesting because, like, even in the story, the mermaids are neutral. They are allies of the sorcerers who kind of govern all occults, but the mermaids are typically very neutral people. So anyway, how the lineages were formed. The werewolves, it says sorcerers overloaded on untamed magic, and epigenetic changes produce the werewolf lineage and those features. And vampires, these sorcerers who specialized in mischief, this culture was later hardened by the head vampire at the time, and their torturous hunting tactics and physiological bloodlust kind of developed into what vampires are today, or what we know them as. And then mermaids, with their diplomacy and scholarly inclinations, with a spotless reputation, help define them. And of course, where and their regional location also helped them evolve appropriately. And then sorcerers are more prophetic, educated, and prosperous, and they are generally envied by the other realms. But they practice with a lot of discipline and therefore have more outreach to higher spiritual realms. But that being said, they have far more privilege and were able to kind of create a royalty. And then I have my alliances. Wolves and vampires were once hunting allies against sorcerers, but because of the werewolves' untamed bred barbarism, vampires became repulsed and their alliance broke. Mermaids remained peripheral yet respected diplomats. And then sorcerers were just never overthrown. And there is a chain of authority. This is where it gets like really, really dorky. But so you have from top to bottom. So the most powerful to the least, pretty much. You have the ultimate lord. So that, which entails a creation and control of all, and they have the ultimate lord really has the right to judge souls. And then the next one beneath that are gods and goddesses. They were once mortal heads with pristine rule that reflect the ultimate lord. So right beneath that are heads, and if heads have a perfect reign, they ascend in the afterlife as gods or goddesses. So the heads, they kind of rule domains, they cannot alter fate, and their acts are within fate, okay? But it's like in the real world, they're kind of like king of all, queen of all, you know? If a head, or I was gonna say if a head's reign is impeccable, but I already addressed that. And then we have masters, adepts, acolytes, neophytes, and apprentices, okay? And this is something Sims had already designed, so I kind of worked off of that. So you have the head, then the masters are the teachers. So, you know, if you were to be indoctrinated into certain communities and social circles within the sorcerer realm, then these sorcerers would teach you, you know, would be your guide. And then you have adepts, those are military. Then you have acolytes, those are strong casters, but they cannot guard the royals, so they're not that strong. Neophytes have no realm access, often unlawfully indoctrinated. So this kind of is that bridge from this realm to the realm we exist in, right? So you do have people who practice sorcery, and then you have apprentices, which is low-level witchcraft, and spiritual practitioners, you know, which do exist in our reality. So we have that. So we have that bridge, you know, because I don't want it to be I don't want to disregard the world we live in, because that's important for my characters to get through, you know, from this realm to the next, you know, so I had to kind of create a bridge. Now we have the laws, okay? No public divulgence by acolytes and above, no practice upon neophytes or apprentices, no necromancy, only Grim Reaper is exempt, no immortality, no rebellion against royal families, no creation of new beings. Soulmates exist, but two can only recognize each other if they are of an occult nature. Once banished to the netherworld, this is so important in my story, but once banished to the netherworld, the soul ceases to exist forever. So that's like a really big deal. And then the enforcement philosophies. Laws never receive approvals or formal approvals, only disapproval manifests. So if a god or goddess disapproves of a law, even though heads can't really alter much of that, they will only send down disapproval. Really, the ultimate lord would handle all of this. But anyway, disapproval would equal misfortune and consequence. Heads can, I guess I was wrong in my own story, but heads can create and alter laws, and goddesses can advise or deny reconsideration, and sometimes, very rarely, gods and goddesses can descend. But yes, anyway, so then we get into the rankings of the Vampiric League, and you have the head of the Vampiric League, then Grandmaster, then Master, then Prime, then Minor, then Fledgling. And then we have the Mermaid, the Merfolk Kingdom, which is King, Queen, Grand Duke and Duchess, Prince and Princess, Duke and Duchess, Baron, Baroness, and Civil, okay? And then we have the Werewolf Kingdom, which is the Alpha, Beta, Delta, Omega, Common, and then the individual track is with their own personal ranking. This is really stuff that I did pull from Sims, which is Apex, Veteran, Prime, Runt, Pup. So that's that. Then I created a fucking map, which I will show you at some point, maybe, I don't know. And also emblems for my each realm. So that's really cool. And then we get into the chapters, and there's like a lot of content with my chapters and stuff, but Yikes. Anyway, I'm really, really happy that I shared this with you guys. It's not like something I really need to get off my chest or anything, but it is a hobby. And I think about that, you know, like I've spent so much of my life, literally so much of my life writing that I don't think I've genuinely developed a hobby. Yeah, I don't think I've really developed a hobby. There are things I like to do here and there. I like going to the gym. I like hanging out with friends, and maybe I'll paint once in a while, but it's not like I have any consistent hobby. And whenever someone asks me that, I just say I love writing. I love writing leisurely. I love writing professionally. You know, this is, I would say, somewhat of a hobby, even though I don't play it as much anymore, and I really think it's because I don't need to dissociate as much. But you know, it was something important. And I kind of do want to repurpose it into a script, maybe, or a series, or honestly, a novel series. So we'll see where I go with that. But yeah, you know, even with like, oh my God, like critiquing film, movies, and stuff, that's like a hobby. That is pure leisure. That is pure fun for me. And I don't have a Letterboxd, but I do have a Google Docs, which I write very extensive reviews on movies, and they're extremely passionate in it. And genuinely, I don't know why. I just, you know, I know that I could never like romantically be with another writer because it's a very I'm right, you're wrong mentality, and that's not good. But anyway, yeah, that's about it. Thank you so much for listening. If you did listen to all this, really thank you. I hope to see you next week. Until then, have a good evening, or rest of your day, or rest of your week, and I will see you later. Bye.